Welcome. My name is Anita Slate. I'm a library assistant at the River Falls Public Library. And tonight we have Lea Tran, who is an ethnic Chinese, the Hoa people, who fled her birth country, Vietnam, in 1979 to the United States as a boat person. In her memoir, I Did Not Miss the Boat, Memoir of a Vietnam Hoa Refugee, she shares her story of the challenges she and her family faced as they built her life from refugees of a war-ravaged country to acclimating to life in the United States. She describes her journey as she overcomes adversity. She graduated from Villanova University and pursued a career as an organic chemist, co-inventing several patents on anti-HIV drug discovery and development to a successful business owner. As a speaker, Lea's mission is to inspire others to overcome the fear of uncertain times, look for opportunities in the midst of adversity so they don't miss out. So welcome, Lea. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you, Anita. Nice to be here. Thank you.
I am going to put this first slide up that we talked about. All right. Let's see. Whoop. Well, there we go. Well, there we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm going back in time.
There we go. Take it away, and I'll just pop in when when I can ask a question. So.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. It's my privilege, and I am so honored to be able to share my life story with you. So the picture you're looking at here right now, that was the picture taken maybe a couple months before we embark into this journey, a one-way journey that it's still kind of emotional for me to talk about it because, at that time, I was about 16. And it's a very vulnerable age, and I knew it would be a trip of a lifetime, no return, no coming back. So anyhow, sorry, it's too early to cry, and I am getting emotional. So sorry, I'm gonna control myself. So the title say I did not miss the boat because, as you know, the boat had very significant to me, literally and figuratively, because that's how I measure life in many different ways, and I will come to that later. But the subtitle is a Memoir of a Vietnam Hoa Refugee. It took me a long time to think of how I can honor my heritage by give it a little teaser, not HOA, okay? We don't pay HOA. We don't have no HOA in Vietnam, but it just happened to spell the same. And Hoa is actually a ethnic Chinese. It's one of the largest minority group in Vietnam, and Saigon is where I was born. There's a community called Gia Lung, which is like a subsidiary of a large group of Chinese community, and we were called the Hoa people. Hoa means Chinese. So lots of people migrated to Vietnam when they about my grandparents' time. I think that's about in maybe early 40s. Before World War II, before China became communist. And it's the same reason. Lots of people took the boat and get out of the country. And my dad left China when he was 3 and had never been back until the day that he passed away. That's the only wish that he would have is to go back to China. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So it's just funny that when people say, "Oh, you're Vietnam boat people," and almost immediately I have to say, "Oh, but we are Chinese." It's almost like an instant reflex, just like because we have very distinct Chinese identity, culture from our China origin in Vietnam. So there's always like, we're Chinese, the Vietnamese, and there's always like a sub sort of like understanding that uh, I don't want to say the word segregated, but it's almost like mentally. We have our own church, our own temples, our own schools, our own community. So there's a very distinct, and that's why I feel like, coming to America at 16, I felt that I was really confused. I didn't know my identity because it's shallow in both ends. I can't tell people that I'm Vietnamese, but I'm from Vietnam. Never know what China look like, and I'm Chinese, but you know, so you get the gist. It's just a one confused teenager who was seeking for help, and then come here, a whole new array of things that I need to learn. So that's why my boat journey was the beginning of a uh, very complex identity and understanding of who I was for a long time. Um, so, um, and the reason that we left Vietnam, I think many of you probably have a hint of why. It's just because that the Chinese community had been oppressed, and there's many reasons. And one of the reasons that after Saigon was taken over from the North communists, China and Vietnam got into a confrontation in, I think, 77, 78, and then that creating a lot of friction for the immigrants, the Chinese minority who lived in Vietnam, and they being discriminated. They have been mistreated, and there's many things that it's just almost like um, create an environment for us to voluntarily leave the country in that sense. Um, and I have witnessed a lot of government harassment to our community. Our home were and our business were confiscated. Business property was taken, and there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear between the adults in the community, and uh, I'm going to take a minute to go back, and our freedom is being threatened. We are not allowed to trade. We are not allowed to say anything. Everything was restricted. So it's almost like an environment is creating that for us to either leave or just die slowly. And my parents and hundred of thousand Chinese, mostly people, decide that they're going to take that risk. Some by land, some by sea, and that's where the term mass exodus of boat people coming from, because so many people are just taking the sea route, and there's a price, obviously, for I think, I'm not sure about the statistic, but when I'm looking up, it says about almost 50% of people who fled Vietnam perished at sea. I mean, either through the waves, the storms, or through pirates, or get lost, or there's so many reasons. But we were the lucky one. After a lot of struggle of 7 days out in the sea, we made it to land, and that just the blessing is. It was a miracle that that's how I'm here today to tell you, share with you. Um, So writing this memoir really helped me to further understand my roots. And when I dig deeper, to connect to my own ancestor, my heritage, um, I considering that I am bridging the gap of third degree separation. I want to say third degree because I feel like I'm a double minority. The minority in Vietnam, and then leave Vietnam and come in here to become another minority within the minority. So that's the third separation degree from me and China, my own roots. So writing this book has actually helped me to figure out who exactly I was and I am, and to get rid of the stigma of that I so desperately want to shake off when I came to America. So now I'm proud to say that um, the refugees are the bravest people who would do anything to secure a future for their families, their children, and that's what this book is all about.
All right, I'm going to move to the next slide here.
So yes, I figure I put it up there because there's a dozen, thousands and millions of books out there. Why would you want to read my book? And the reason is usually you don't care about a person unless you know the person. And I want you to get to know me, who I am as Lea Tran, instead of just somebody who write a book and have a story, because every single one of us have a story. And sometimes knowing names and have a story is not enough. So I want to share with you that how does it relate to my value, my beliefs, and how will it affect me as an individual? And maybe from reading my book and understand me, um, it would help you to understand your roots, help you to understand where your background, and to accept yourself and to move on, because we all have a past, a history. Sometimes we're not so proud of. Sometimes we should be proud, but we didn't know better, so we resent it. Sorry.
Oops, sorry, I didn't want to do
That's
that.
okay. That's okay.
I was going to jump in and you tell about your dad's family and your mother's family, and they were, your mom's family especially, were very important to you. And do you want to talk a bit about your father now, or do you want to wait a little bit?
I'm going to talk a little bit about, yes, a little bit about my dad going on forward, because I think he's the hero in my life. But I have a very mixed relationship with my dad when he was still alive. Mm-hmm. And took many years for me to heal that feeling. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so to know who I am, I hope that after this conversation, you'll be understand that who I am and why I write this book. After all, it's just I want to share my culture. I want to share part of me to the world, because I know many people out there like me hesitate to tell their stories. And this is a melting pot country. America is the best. I call it a tossed salad. It's just beautiful. We have a variety of everything, and it's so beautiful to know other people's culture. So I want to share that, and I'm proud to share that. And I would love to, hear your story, your culture, if I get a chance.
All right.
So who is Lea Tran? And that was just a nutshell, but I am actually just a very ordinary, petite Asian woman, typical Chinese girl or woman. I am a daughter of an arranged marriage. Both my parents come from lots of trauma, and I was lucky to be the firstborn, or cursed maybe, I don't know. Someday I thought I was lucky, it's a blessing, and someday I feel like it's such a curse, because Asian parents expect a lot from the firstborn. And we, firstborn also benefit a lot from being the oldest. But obviously, you're oldest for a reason because you have to help take care of all your siblings. So I am a sister. You see it on the top center, that was me and two of my brothers and two of my sisters. I'm actually have another sister that is not in the picture. She passed away when she was 4. So five of us. So I call that is the hand. I'm the shortest, the thumb. That's me. And then my brother, and then my sister, and then my sister, and then my baby youngest brother, who now is 40 some years old. No longer in that cute picture anymore. And then I graduated to become a wife. I found the love of my life, my soulmate, who I dated for 37 years now, and being his wife for 32, almost 32, 31 and a half. And then we blessed with a son. You see that cutie pie right there holding a little puppy. That is my son, who is now 26. So everybody grow up really fast. So I'm ordinary person just like you, many of you. The only thing is, I was trained to be a life fighter. I didn't know that. I didn't know I was a life fighter. But I finally look back, take a moment to pause and look back and realize that, yes, I am a life fighter. And many of you out there listening to this, yes, you are a life fighter too. You just have to look back and see how many things you accomplished and how many things that you have achieved. Give yourself a little pat, because you know that's a life fighter, and I think many of us are, unless you give up completely. But that's who I am. So next slide is, I have a little fun fact for you. So if you have read my book, you probably know what I'm talking about. But if you have not read my book yet, I have so many fun facts. But I just want to pull out a couple, just a little teaser. Hopefully, that you will have a chance to check the book out from the libraries, or get on Amazon, or get a sneak peek of it somewhere. So number one, I am a boat people person for life. I got that name because we escaped Vietnam out from a boat. But before that, beside my dad, I don't think any of the family members have ever set foot on a boat. So it's just kind of funny that that boat totally, totally have changed my life, and 501 other people's life on that boat forever. Um, but the beauty is now that boat, it actually give us so many chances. Now I'm going on cruises. I am I am going to different boats, but something just never changed, because I still could not see the ocean in the same eyes. It doesn't matter how big of a cruise that I'm in, it's always take me back to that moment. So the second fun fact is, this sounds horrible, but I was a drug dealer. Yes, before I became a drug maker. Now, when the communists took over, I did a lot of trafficking for my mom, and everything is underground. Everything is in black market. And being 14, 15, 16, that was the age that that you're not afraid of anything. I mean, mom tell you to just go and deliver this, and bring home gold and American dollars or medicines or antibiotic or anything, because that's the only way we can get things going, because everything was nationalized. Everything was from the government, and they ration everything, and there's a shortage of pretty much everything. So anything you need, you have to traffic, and you have to you got to find your own way to find the necessary stuff that you need. So I was consider myself a drug dealer because I would carry painkillers, antibiotics to a pharmacist that in the front they were doing stuff for the government, but in the back they were just trading stuff for common people like us who needed medicine. Um, However, I was very fortunate when I got a chance to come to America, graduated, and with a chemistry degree, I was able to get a chance to redeem myself in the professional of saving lives in the open and free society. So for 17 years, I was making potential drug candidates for in vitro testing to treat many different diseases. And one of them was for stopping the spread of HIV/AIDS viral infection. And that's going to be in the second book because there's just so much to tell. And I'm going to give you a little teaser, but that's what I'm going to talk about in my corporate life, what I learned, and the things that I step out of my comfort zone and do it. So the third fun fact is that I made clothes for refugee people in the refugee camp before I became a business owner and dressing up windows for $1 million homes and luxury homes. And um, it's a creative avenue, but it's just so totally in two different environments. Now, my love for creating beautiful garment and fashion in Vietnam gave me a huge asset. I learned to sew in Vietnam and I made clothes for my friends, my cousins, and that gave me an opportunity to help my family make a living when I was in the refugee camp. And I just feel wonderful that I was able to change people's mindset when they wear some nice, clean, new clothes to go to interview with the potential country that want going to accept them to be for resettlement. And I felt that I already making direct impact because many older um, mom's friends or people in the refugee camp, they lost all their clothes at sea. Sometimes they just need something decent so they can feel confidence and have a little bit of dignity when they go to interview. And by be able to make them new clothes for them to have that confident feeling, I was so they appreciate me so much that I felt like um, just some simple things that I did, and I just love that feeling. And when I decide that I'm going to have a business, and I love still girly stuff and home decorating, and that's why I decided to, instead of dressing people, I dress window. I go into a profession that doing window treatments and draperies, and give me an outlet of designing, creating my own idea and design, and play with fabric, beautiful fabrics, and be able to go into people's very private personal space to decorate for them, their bedroom, their closet, their very, very intimate area. And I made so many great friends um, when they become my clients and become my friend, and some even just like almost like family. And that is the feeling that I think if um, we all have some asset that we sometimes didn't think that we can turn around and make something that we know into something significant. That's wrong, because you can actually take what you know and expand it and still be able to create a business and opportunity for you to be successful in the business world. So that again will be in my book too. I am jumping ahead, but because I want you to get to know me, but to know me further, I think reading my first book to know my background will be very much relevant when you read the second book. But the second book is not going to be for a while. But anyhow, so fun fact number 4, I was terrified to speak up in my youth. I spent the first 2 years in school, hide behind my aunt's hip, who was my caretaker, and she did all the talking for me. And I was happy that I didn't have to talk, because I have to go to a school that didn't speak the same dialect that I speak at home. And I was so terrified. I was so afraid that people were going to laugh at me because I couldn't speak the language. So I let my aunt did all the talking. And that fear carried with me all the way to the adulthood. Even though I'm a very people person, I love to talk, but I was just afraid to talk in a crowd. I'm afraid to even make comment or asking question in class or anything. I'm just happy to blend in, be invisible. So the last, I think, 15 years after I become a business owner, and I realized that I have to get out of that field, because you cannot have a sustainable business unless you start talking. And public speaking is so crucial and important to to um, to save your business, because that's the only way that you can get potential clients, and this the only way that you can market yourself and get people to know you, who you are. So that's the fun fact, but I've got so many more. um, those are just a few ones, just to give you a sense of who I am and who I have become. It has been a long journey, and not just the love to talk, but I dare myself, even though I start taking speaking, not lesson, but practices at Toastmaster. And I think the biggest dare that I did was go on applying for the TEDx talk and get on the TEDx stage 2 years ago to give my story. And that was the most horrifying moment in my life, but I am so glad I did it. And I know if I could do that, uh, anyone could do it. Anyone, I mean it. Like if a refugee who couldn't speak English and have a size of confidence of a national deficit can do it, then any of you out there could do it. You have a story that you're willing to tell, you will able to do it. So slide number 4. Uh, how do you build your lives when a disaster strikes? And this is very common, right? Because look at us now. It's a disaster that we are sitting at home uh, trying to ride out this pandemic. And many times my family have gone through this over and over. How did we rebuild our life when one disaster after the other disasters that just keep finding us? So Jim Rohn has said that if you don't like where you are, move. You're not a tree. And this is very, very true, because as humans, we're not a tree, right? But we still have very deep roots where we were born and raised. So it is impossible just to uproot and move without shock, without the pain, without the stun of growth. But what choice do we have if a natural disaster strike? And even in America, right? You hear about flooding in the South. You hear about wildfires and mud and tornado, hurricane, earthquake, and now the pandemic. I mean, things that we don't expect it. We pray that we're not going to get, strike, but who are we to saying that it wouldn't happen, right? Um, so they can be real and unexpected experience, and not to mention the man-made disasters like war or terrorism, poverty even, which produce refugees in many countries, and not because the refugee want to leave their home, because that's where their roots are, but they have to because they didn't have a choice, not because they want to, but they didn't have a choice. That by fleeing their country, that was the only way they could have another chance to rebuild their lives, to start over. And it takes a lot of courage to uproot, not knowing where you're going to be able to settle or to replant your roots yourself. But at least it's a good start. So taking a courage to get yourself out of that situation instead of waiting there, lingering, and waiting for things to get better, it's not going to help. I'm glad my parents didn't wait it out and say, "Oh, maybe the government will treat us better. Maybe we'll get better." Perhaps, but our future would not be the future that I'm having now. Time will be lost. So it was a decision that they have to make at that time, and it takes a lot of courage because my dad come to Vietnam, and his parents had to build from the ground up. Now he left the country knowing that everything he had built, we were not rich, but we were comfortable in Vietnam. And it took my dad her whole life to build up where he was and to uproot so his children can have a chance of freedom. That that was something that many other parents do that for their children. That's something that we should be grateful. As a daughter, I'm really grateful, and I know that many people come to this country as an immigrant, as a refugee from Europe, from Asia, from Middle East, from anywhere. They took the same risk. It's just because that they know that being in the same place, that disasters will get worse. So they have to take the courage and to rebuild their lives. They just have to do it. So so hopefully, when you hear after this, when you meet someone that came to this country, hopefully that you have a little empathy for them. So
Wow. Did you want the CBC clip now?
yes, so to understand what our family have been through, when I wrote the memoir, I found this clip of YouTube from a Canadian reporter who actually was in the same island that I was in, and he and the crew had did a documentary for like 6 minutes. I cried so much watching that clip of video. So so I hope once you take a look, you'll be able to understand that the situation that we were in, and it just a piece of history that I think that it was really good that I could be able to share that.
Okay. Let's add this. And
beaches and have followed the currents south into Indonesian waters. We hear that thousands are ending up on the remote Anambas Islands. We fly to Indonesia for travel permits to Jakarta. There we strike off north again across the waters and islands of the South China Sea. We hitch a ride in an oil company plane thanks to the efforts of our Canadian External Affairs Officer in Jakarta and to the courtesy of Marathon Oil. The External Affairs man is hitchhiking with us, driven by the same fearful curiosity as ourselves. We become aware of the vast emptiness of the South China Sea, unpopulated islands, untraveled waters, brooding void.
Those are the islands that we were in. Uh-oh, no sound. Anita?
Here.
yes.
We lost the audio.
Oh, I am so sorry. Can you hear it now?
Yes.
The trooper can leave us here for only 3 hours, and we're not yet at our final destination. We take a fast look at this village of Vietnam. Vietnam is a food distribution center. Its population is partly Indonesian, but mostly refugee. We're told that much of the food for sale is black market and has been diverted from UN relief supplies. We're told here and elsewhere that the refugee problem is becoming a profitable business for Malaysian and Indonesian local officials. We can't prove it, but we believe it. We have to keep moving if we're to reach our destination, the island of Area. It's another hour by boat. We're gradually getting an idea of the interminable journeys officials have to undertake in order even to survey the refugee situation, let alone solve it. With us now is a Vietnamese girl from France. She's systematically searching for her parents. Her hopes are high, probably futile. As for us, we don't know what to expect. We'll be the first journalists to visit the island of Area. The island is small, with no indigenous population. Everyone we see waiting is a refugee. There are some 12,000 on this island. No permanent buildings, no stockpiles of food, no piers for boats. We're ferried ashore. We can be here for only 1 hour, and it's almost impossible to film. We retreat behind the barricade at the hospital to gain elbow room to film. Doctors and nurses, refugees themselves, are trying to cope with viral hepatitis, malaria, malnutrition. They've vaccinated against cholera, but have no anti-typhoid vaccine. The monsoons are coming soon, and with them, God knows what. Here, everyone is searching for friends or relatives. Letters are collected for us to mail. Later, we count 4,000. We tour the camp and we ask a naive question. Is there anything we can do? Meaning, I suppose, cigarettes, chocolate bars, deliver letters. The woman answers, please help us. She says, my people are dying. In desperation, we hand over our CBC first aid kit and all our malaria pills. In doing so, we have doubled the island's medical supplies. It will mean very little in these unsanitary conditions. The child will still die every 2 or 3 days of diarrhea. For every one that dies, another is born. But to what end? In spite of the heat and the flies and the stink and the squalor, as we leave, these people are still smiling. They're incredible. The girl from France has remained ashore. There are 32,000 people on 5 Anambas islands, and her parents might be among them. One final letter is sent on a desperate bid for the mails.
Brought back so many memories. And the first island where the helicopter landed, that's where we stayed for 100 days. We rented a home, a front porch from an Indonesian family. And with a little bit of civilization, I mean, we were able to, be there for 100 days. But the next 98 days, we were in area where the crowded island that where you see the second half.
Mhm.
I still remember that exact setting. I mean, probably one of the huts that was mine. And yeah, lots and lots and lots of memories. Oh my God, for like 40 years, and I saw that YouTube clip that I would just, my heart just dropped. It was just like, at that time you didn't see it. At that time you did not see it. You're inside the picture. You can't see it.
Yeah.
So that I am so glad for. It was a miracle that my family survived, all 7 of us and a bunch of cousins, and we all made it out. But there are many people who actually die on the island. The young, the old, the people that could not stand the weather, the sanitaries, and the insects. There's so many factors that you can actually not be healthy enough for a country to accept you, because they want to examine you before your health qualify for you to get out. So
That's a very powerful clip, somebody said, and we're already at 6:45, so I'm gonna move on to the next slide.
okay.
Okay, so we get to our questions at the end.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, so my question is like, how do we cope with certain uncertain times? Like my family been through so many of those, and there's a talk about we afraid to change, right? We people afraid of change, but actually people don't afraid of change. We left the country because we wanted change. We wanted to be different than what we were. What we were afraid was of the unpredictable and the uncertain of times. Like we didn't know we're gonna die, what's gonna happen en route, what's gonna happen in the refugee camps, and there's just so many other factors. But I know that there's several things that you can deal with uncertain times. The first thing is surrender your fate to God. That's what my parents did. They make a decision that they're gonna leave the country, and they just let the rest to God. They took the risk. They surrender. The second thing is trust humanity, trust people, trust kindness. Oh my God, the people in Minnesota save the arms. That's my family's last name. And the people in Minnesota in Onamia, particularly, which is, I think, your neighbor state. um, we were sponsored by a Lutheran church in Minnesota, in a small town called Onamia. And I have to say that that was the most beautiful time that my family have come to after the ordeal of almost 5 years in under the communists um, and all the hardship that we've been through at the refugee camp. So I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to my pastor, Tim Rout, and the congregation, the people at the church in Minnesota at that time, and then the Stevens, who are family friends who took so good care of us. And if you read my book, you will see that that's the most beautiful chapter in my life. How I really understand and learn about America, its culture, and its people. So, so allow and accept the love from total strangers. That's if you are in a hardship, and if somebody help you, don't create a barrier. Accept it, and then turn around, do good things when you are able. Um, in my book, there's a chapter of Onamia that I walk you through so many of our first discovery, and that's why you will understand why that chapter is so endearing to me. And going from the first time, a tropical country to a place that a vast amount of snow. It's almost like on the sea, but in solid water. And that's when we were in Minnesota, January 3rd. It was big snowy time, and it's just a place that I etch in my heart and my soul forever. So that's the three ways that I think we can deal with our uncertain times. And I know time is running short, but I have a lot more to say, so I'm going to make it real short and succinct. So there's three choices that you have. Besides trusting your faith to God and trust the people who God will send to take care of you, you have other choices. You can feel sorry for yourself and retreat and withdraw and lost grip of life and slump into a depressing stage. Or the second, a little better, is just be numb and froze in place, not know what to do, and just let the circumstances and the other people make decision for you. And those are one step better than being depressed, but still not going to move you very far. So my last option is face the risk and stepping out of that comfort zone and start to explore, regroup, re-examine, take inventory of your tools, your asset, and use them to creative way to rebuild your future. Give it a try. Give a new environment a try, and just take the little steps and try things out. And taking action is the best way to move the needle when you are in the uncertain times. Don't just sit there and waiting for things to get better. And I want to credit that again to my parents who didn't sit back and wait for things, and they taught us so much about keep moving forward, keep doing a little bit thing at a time, and keep trying. And that's what I learned, and I never look back. And I'm always showing up, always think of a new way. How do I want to be better myself by taking action? And as I get older and I get wiser, I move even further than just proactive, than just response to the changes, but I proactively making the change so my life can be better the way that I want it. So I won't live a life of regrets. And that's the thing that I'd love, if anything that you can walk out tonight, is do the things that you love so you can actually love yourself and love the people around you. So you're not missing things in life. You will never, ever miss opportunity. And you never have to say that, what if, I should have, I could have. So we have, I think, two more slides. One more slide is how do we find real courage and freedom? I think that is just the continuing thing of what I find out about for myself. To live a really free life, I have to accept who I am. That's including my past, my present, who I came from, all the good and the bad, my family, my circumstances, my situation. Everything is beautiful. Everything has some flaws, and the flaws is the beautiful part. That because it's all mine, not anybody else's. And take the initiative to jump ship. If that boat does not serve you anymore, it's leaking, you got to build a new one, or you got to just jump to a different ship so you don't sink with the boat. And the last slide is, you can see me have adversity or opportunity. And it's all depending on what perspective, right? When I first came to America, I thought I came from a very disadvantaged position. I was unfortunately born into so many adversity circumstances, and have so much to catch up. But as time goes on, I find out that those my opportunity for growth. Because without those adversity, I would not be courageous enough to take action, to do the things that I want in life. And the last thing I want to say is, I know it is hard, but practice and pretend that you're already there. And I want to take a quote that I get from Amy Cutter, who say that, um, fake it until you don't fake it until you make it, but fake it until you become it. And that is something I'm keep trying and keep striving, because once you become it, it become your identity, become who you are, and you don't have to fake it anymore, because you get enough practice and you just there. You just be who you are. That is part of your identity. So the opportunity part is, I want you to see that many Vietnamese boat people that who settle in America, many of them have beautiful family and succeed and accumulate many great position in society. And same thing with all the refugee in the world right now. If you just give them a chance, if you just give them the tool, they are hardworking people. They will get to wherever the society provides for them. And I want to say that for me, instant, I'm so lucky that I get a chance to blossom and to grow in America. And I hope that I can give back even just a fraction of what other people have given me, to help other people, other refugees. That would be my wish. And I am actually in part of one organization right now that is helping refugees in Malaysia. And if anyone who are interested to learn more about that, please reach out and let me know. I know we're running out of time, but you can connect with me through multiple different places on social media. And my email is there, and you can find me pretty much anywhere. So with that, I will take any questions.
Whoops, sorry. One of the questions, Kim asked, how did you get your start in public speaking? You said you did Toastmasters and other things, but what are your plans for the future besides writing a second book?
Yeah, well, public speaking was not something that I thought I could do, but because when I gave a symposium in my scientific world, and I was crying at the rehearsal, and I knew that I really majorly need help. I was talking about molecules, and it was nothing, anything trauma like my dad or anything. And I was crying because of nervous. So when I had a chance after that talk, I was signing up for public speaking, taking classes. But Toastmaster is a place that has actually helped me to craft my pitch. So when I had my business, I have to constantly going out networking, and having that practice at Toastmaster. It, like I said, fake it until you become it, right? So I was able to comfortable enough to be out there networking and speaking in front of a crowd. And then it's a long story, but for the last couple of years, I decided that I'm going to write a book and become a speaker, because the microphone is the most powerful way to spread your message. And by speaking, I would make a lot more impact to people and help them, to a place where they want to be. I mean, writing a book is great, but speaking create a lot more intimate space. And I'm sure that you feel like you get to know me a little better tonight than just reading my book. Am I right? So, and that's why I love the speaking part, because I can really build relationship with people fast, and they get to know who I am. I get to know who they are in a confined space, and that's the most impactful way to communicate with the person that you want to talk to. And yeah, my career in the future is, yes, I am on my way of making even more impact by hopefully certifying my coaching certification. So I would use speaking and then writing and coaching to help make an impact in people that who have been through trauma, and people who want to change themselves. I'm all about self-development, and I love being able to grow through personal or professional, because once you realize that if you can succeed in open up your mind to many different ways to help you move and grow, then you can succeed in anything you want to do.
Another part of Kim's question was, are there plans for an audiobook or a movie of your story?
Yes, I have been told many times, people come to me and say that your book needs to be in a movie, because I see myself eating popcorn and watching your movie. Now, I am a no-name person. I don't know. I've tried, but I don't know how to pitch to media. And I'm hoping that somebody will pick up the story and have interest in that. I have no objection to have it on a bigger medium, so more refugee will step forward and tell their story, and more history will be shared among us, because we all have, like I said, we all have story. What's the other question?
Becky had a question. What was your first thought when you saw Onamia, though? Not the people, but the place itself.
Oh God, peace, calm. Compared to the 8 months that we have been through, Onamia is like a postcard, and it's just like it's a place. It's like heaven on earth. It's just so still. We landed at midnight, and driving from Minneapolis to Onamia, it took about 2 hours, and all I could do is just look out the car window, and I'm thinking, oh my God, there's no wave, and it's all white. It's so pure. It's just so heavenly, and just so much went through my mind, and I'm glad that we had that 6 months to purge all the chaotic thing that we've been.
And the second part of Becky's question was, did this little community give you a sense of security as you started a new life in a new world? I think you already answered part of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was the best thing ever happened to our family. I think my dad became softer. My mom, we didn't know much about the outside world, so we connect inside the family even more, and we act as a unit. It's like it's all new to us, from a 3 years old to a 44 years old man. It is all the same playing field, and we're curious, and it's just yeah, it was just beautiful. And I could not thank you enough for the people over there, for God, you know, purposely put us there so we can have a refresh, a reset, a new reset button for us to facing the world again after that.
A couple of questions that I had. There's so much in this book I want to ask you about, but I also don't want to spoil it. I really would like people to purchase a copy. We do have a couple local booksellers, Fox Den here in River Falls and Chapter 2 on Hudson.
If they buy from my website, I'm sorry to jump in, they will get an autograph from me. That's all. I mean, if they want an autograph, they're welcome to go to leetran.com and but local bookstore is fine. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as they get the message.
Yes. Do you still deal, though? Your father was such a wonderful, strong worker. But again, there was also trauma and abuse. And have you gotten past some of that? I know you had a lot of health issues because of it, the fear, the anxiety of some of the things that happened. How did you get past some of that personally?
Well, this is part of the healing. Every time I talk about him, I feel like I'm making a connection with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. For many years, I refused to talk about it. But now, writing a book, I talk to him a lot. And I made peace with him. And like I said, he's my hero. And we have this, not hate, but love and complexity. I mean, we bond pretty well at the very last stage of his life. And I didn't have a chance. I missed that boat. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a chance to talk to him as an adult.
Before the show, we had talked a little bit about that. There's so much trauma and adversity in this story, but there's also, it is filled with hope. And I love that about it. I'm so glad you wrote it. And I wish you luck on your next book and maybe a movie deal if you get that far.
Yeah, if you know any producer, please send it my way.
Yes. Does anybody else have any questions? I know there's people that are saying they're so proud of you for telling your story. They love the term life fighter that you are. You definitely should be proud. Let's see. B.U. Lee, it was a hard journey from Merrill. And I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight. And do you have any last, I wanted to tell people how to connect with you. So I'm just going to briefly put this back up.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share your platform, to tell my story, and to get a little bit closer to Minnesota. That's my plan. I still want to go to do a book tour, and that's my first destination that I want to have a second. I call Onemia was my second birthplace, literally, and I want to be there. And I would love to stop by the library and meet you and have a book signing if I, somehow maybe some miracle happen in this summer or the fall, that if we can travel again.
That would be awesome.
That would be my wish.
Yeah. So you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. You can email you. Any final thoughts that you want to share at the end here?
No, I would just say that, whatever you do out there, keep on going and doing. Don't miss any boat. Never have to say that I missed that boat. And that's just a great term because I just, that boat, it just get me back to my boat, my own trauma, my own boats. And I don't want anybody to miss their boats because they have felt in the comfortable place. And sometimes comfortable place is the place that we hide in fear. And we don't even know that. So thank you again, Anita. And thank you for all the staff and the people who interest in my story. And it's such a privilege to be able to share it with you.
Thank you. anyway, I also wanted to say our next author event, I don't know if you've read her books, but in March 11th, I believe, we will be hosting Jennifer Chiavarini. She wrote a lot of quilting fiction books, strong women fiction books, and now she's been writing a lot of historical fiction books of presidential women, Lincoln's sisters, Lincoln's dressmaker, and so on. And she now has just written Resistance Women, which is a World War II story set in Wisconsin, U.S. and Germany. And she also has another book coming out, I think July, called The Women's March. So we're excited to come back for that. Thank you again. There's so much I would like to ask you, but we've run out of time. So thank you again for agreeing to do this, and hope to meet you in the future.
Yes, yes, hopefully soon.
All right. Have a great evening, everyone.